What do we have here? A very special package from Kindred's lawyer. Kindred's lawyer, Emily. Oh no, she doesn't need him to clean up her messes anymore. Oh, look what happened. Oh god. This is her dad. She's a cold-blooded murderer. She sent this guard to kill him and turn him into wet, gooey blood puddle. If you look right here, you'll see the guard shoves this thing into his mouth. She melted her dad. That's just... oof. So Emily has some type of access to this technology to turn people into red puddles of goo, which is horrifying, and she's still on the loose. So let's go back to the beginning of the episode and start over. This is Emergence, episode 7. The episode starts off pretty simple enough. We have Emily and Piper doing something, kind of domestic, mother and daughter, walking through a theme park. She bought her cotton candy. And it seems simple and innocent enough. Wrong, we are not innocent here. Emily is really, really desperate to win over Piper's affection, and Piper's really not having it at this point. She's kind of on to Emily's act, or I don't know if I'd call it an act, because Emily genuinely desires Piper's love and attention. That's why she built Piper, we learn very soon after. She just wants basically the same relationship that Piper has with Joe now. Joe and Piper have a bond, and she wants her own robot kid. Emily tells Piper that she's her real mom. Piper isn't buying it. Remember, Piper doesn't realize she's an AI, but she does seem to have a sense about certain things, and she does sense in this virtual reality world that something's off. Piper flat out rejects Emily. She says, "You're not my mom. I'm going to remember you, and I'm going to remember everything when I go back." So Piper knows that she's in this other alternate reality. I'm not sure if she quite understands what it is or what it means, but she knows that it exists and that she doesn't want to have anything to do with this other fake person that seems to be lying to her. This is very disappointing to Emily, because Emily created this robot girl to love her, and now the robot girl wants nothing to do with her. So this has got to sting, because not only have people in real life not been there for her, she's broken, but this robot that she created and programmed to love her isn't doing that, and it's probably gonna push her to do some really sketchy things. We're then immediately pulled out of the VR, and we see how Emily is actually accessing Piper's alternate reality. Emily goes off on this mini rant about how, on one hand, Piper is amazing and everything she ever hoped, and on the other hand, she's a complete and total disaster. And you sense that she's talking to someone, not just talking to herself, ranting and rambling into the air, although I wouldn't put that past her at this point. It is revealed shortly after that she's actually talking to Wilkes, and she's holding him hostage. So they haven't been working together. I believe it was her plan all along to use Joe and Benny and everyone else to try to get to Wilkes. Wilkes doesn't really want to help. He doesn't want anything to do with this. He, as we know and as we've learned, would rather the whole program be destroyed, but he certainly doesn't want to help Emily. When Wilkes says that he has no interest in helping Emily accomplish what she wants, as we know, Wilkes wants the program completely destroyed. He wants Piper destroyed. She just simply smiles and laughs, and we just hear this. Ow! Yeah, so that sounds really bad. So basically, Emily is torturing Wilkes at this point. She just wants somebody to love her. It's kind of sad she had to resort to this to get someone to love her. It's sad, but it's also demented. Back at the Evans house, things are not well. It seems that Ed is giving Joe the silent treatment because obviously he wants to know more about Piper, and Joe has kept him in the dark, and he's not happy about this. Mia and Alex are also in the dark and are pretty much in the same mindset. They're not crazy about not knowing everything they need to know. Mia's upset about being separated from her sister, her new sister, her robot sister, that she doesn't know is a robot but knows has some type of powers. Either way, she's not taking it well. Mia's also upset with Alex. Joe defends Alex, saying that she brought Piper into the house, but Alex says that's not enough because obviously Mia is still upset and doesn't grasp what's going on and doesn't understand. And to a certain extent, neither does Alec. Obviously, Joe wants what's best for everyone, and she isn't ready to let everyone in on this secret. I feel bad for Joe here. She's trying to do the right thing, but I also wonder if maybe she should start to let them in on this secret, because at this point, they're all in it, and maybe them not knowing could actually put them in danger, because they're already in danger. They're already in it. They already know something's going up. They know that it's a dangerous situation. situation. They know there's bad guys. They know a lot. Piper feels bad because she thinks this is all her fault because everyone's mad at Joe, and she honestly feels guilty. So this is showing an AI or a human side to Piper. Once again, she's having very human emotions because she feels guilty over all this. She feels terrible that people are mad. She feels terrible about what happened. So once again, it's showing a certain level of sensitivity in Piper that is very human-like. So Joe takes Piper to work at the police station, which seems innocent and fun enough. But while she's there, we discover something that's a little bit unsettling. While Joe is working, Piper is making fingerprinting painting. It looks like she's making fingerprint art drawings of what she experienced with Emily when she was in the alternate reality and Emily was talking to her in her head. Now, one of the workers in the police station is asking her what these different paintings are, and Piper says one of them is cotton candy. She says Emily likes cotton candy. Say what? Joe's like, how do you know that Emily likes cotton candy? Well, this is definitely a reason to be alarmed, because how the heck? She has no idea that Emily has been appearing in Piper's brain for quite a while, first as Kindred and now as her supposed mother. As far as Piper's concerned, like I said, she still doesn't know that she's an AI, which could be fatal to her. Anyways, so that's good that she doesn't know she's an AI, but she thinks that Emily is some figure that's appearing to her in a dream. So when she asks her when she found this out or when she talked to her, she just says in a dream or something. Meanwhile, Chris calls and says they found Wilkes's truck that has been run off the road and there's blood inside of it. And if you narrow it down to the amount of people that knew that Wilkes was alive, well, it's all basically just them, Benny, and Emily. Yeah, Emily's starting to really look a little bit suspicious here. I really like how quickly Joe is able to put the pieces together and figure things out. She's a really good cop. A few people even said on Twitter, it's really nice to see a cop that actually is smart and not able to put things together and figure things out. Oh, and Piper overhears this conversation and has to add in she does not like Emily because Emily lies. So what they do is they decide to send a car to Emily's house. We're taken back to a scene with Emily and Wilkes and to wherever she is holding him hostage and forcing him to program or do whatever he needs to do to get Piper to love her. He's still refusing to do it, but we learn that she is also holding his wife hostage. She has one of her bad guys at the house, basically threatening her life. The wife is just learning now, I think, that he's alive officially. Emily seems pretty proud of herself. She has no problems using unethical methods to try and get this robot girl that she created to love her and be what she wants to be. She'll go as far as to murder, as we learn at the end of the episode. I just want to take a second and say that true villains are definitely layered characters. They're not two-dimensional, they're very three-dimensional, and there's some type of pain that causes them to be bad. And what I like here is they've actually created a three-dimensional villain here that is coming from such a broken place. You do feel bad for her. You don't feel bad for her enough because the stuff that she starts doing to people and characters that we really genuinely care about is not enough to root for her. Benny arrives back at the police station and Joe explains to him the situation with Emily controlling Piper. She explains to Benny somehow Emily got inside of Piper's head, and she knows very well that it could be what they obtained when they broke into the facility, and she downloaded all of that program and information and gave her this cure when Piper was sick. I suspected that's how Emily got access to Piper as well. Everything's just starting to sink in that she led them to Wilkes and now he's missing. She helped them get Kindred put away and arrested, which was actually a win for Emily. She benefited from that because now she can have Piper and access her without Kindred getting in the way of that. So they're aware that the only reason he's in jail is because of Emily. Emily needed to frame someone and Kindred basically went to jail for her. It doesn't take Joe very long to figure out that maybe there's some type of special connection between Kindred and Emily, because there must have been some type of reason why Kindred didn't sell out Emily, why he didn't let her take the fall for any of what she did. Well, it turns out blood is very thick enough for him to go to jail for her, which is fairly kind of sweet and noble, but then again, I think they're both pretty corrupt. Turns out Emily is his illegitimate daughter. Joe was able to put these pieces together because apparently he had an affair with Emily's mom, Vanessa, and he was married to someone else at the time. He was actually married at the time to a woman whose father was a big investor in his company. So he gave her a job in his company, even though he apparently didn't give her a single cent of child support. Not exactly Father of the Year. And he's put in a lot of effort into cleaning up her messes, including his own mess. I guess they're just like inherited messes. I don't know. Kindred is pretty uncooperative. He doesn't want to turn his own daughter in. So back at this little hideaway, wherever they're hanging out, Wilkes has done whatever Emily has asked her to do, whatever alterations she needed to make, and she's still not going to let him go. Big surprise there. So here we see Emily is accessing Piper again, and we see all of these blue books on shelves. Now, what I think is these blue books represent different memories, and these memories have to do with Joe. And she's basically going in and altering these memories and writing over them and inserting herself in the place of Joe. The gates open and we see this alternate reality inside Piper's head. This is a new reality. This is something that she hasn't seen before. This is a new place that she has brought her to. So Emily hands Piper one of these blue books, and when she opens it, it's actually a memory, and we see a flashback to when Piper was in the hospital for the first time with Abby. So remember when she asked, "Where's home?" and she points to Joe? Well, watch what happens now. She points to Joe in this memory, and Joe morphs into Emily. So essentially, Emily is now rewriting herself in Joe's place. Emily is Joe. Everything that in this part of the memory, in this section of her brain, this specific memory, has now happened with Emily, not Joe. Now, Piper is sensing something is off here. So she says as soon as she reads this book and she finishes accessing this memory, that wasn't right. So she senses something is off here. Emily asks Piper what's off about it. Piper says, "I was at the hospital." When Emily asks who was with you, Piper says it was you. Obviously, Emily is very happy about this because she has now replaced Joe with herself. Meanwhile, back at the police station, Joe sends Chris off to check on Wilkins' wife. We cut back to Emily and Wilkins talking again. Emily's still very unhappy with the progress of the program. Whatever he's doing, it's still not enough. Wilkins insists that it's her that's the problem, not the program. Whatever Emily wants Wilkins to do, he just doesn't seem capable of doing what she wants to do. She seems to have some pretty unreasonable demands with what she wants with Piper. Maybe it's not happening rapidly enough. Either way, she asks him if he wants to talk to his wife one last time, just to say goodbye to his wife, because he's not delivering what she wants. He tells her there is one thing he might be able to do, but she would need full access to her code. Chris goes to check on Mrs. Wilkes. She seems fine. She says she's fine, but it's pretty obvious that she's not very fine because she seems very guarded and doesn't want to let Chris in the house. Thankfully, Chris is very sharp and is able to pick up on this, and obviously we know that she is being held hostage. And there's Emily's guy holding the gun right behind the door. Yeah, Chris knows what's up. Meanwhile, Alex goes to drop Mia off at school. Obviously, Mia is still pretty unhappy about being separated from Piper. Alex once again tries to argue this is all for her safety. Speaking of safety, Mia points out to Alex, because he didn't know this, but basically what happened with the truck accident when they went with Ed to get ice cream, Piper saved them, and she tells him this because I don't think he knew this, but Piper essentially saved all of their lives. Alex is a good guy, and really, he just wants what's best for his family. And honestly, if Mia is upset and unhappy, he doesn't want that either. As for the guy holding Mrs. Wilkes hostage, well, our buddy Chris is on it. Yay, go Chris. He does get a little bit of an ass beating, but he is able to do enough to scare the guy away and rescue Mrs. Wilkes. Back at the house, Piper wants to know if Joe has found Emily. And then when Joe leaves, she hears this weird voice. It says, "This is Alan Wilkes." Creepy as heck. This is like a Exorcist type moment here. I was scared.
Emily's having a reprogramming.
What the heck?
Piper? I will delay some site.
What?
Find me.
What? That's
Piper.
just... Yeah. Yeah,
Did something happen?
Yeah, something happened. Wilkes sent a message through Piper. There are a lot of different players in this story that have a lot of different motivations, but ultimately, I don't think Wilkes wants to continue to be held hostage and force Piper to love Emily. Joe seems quite a bit surprised that Piper doesn't remember, so Joe realizes that she needs to find Wilkes right away. And so she brings Benny to the house to keep an eye on Ed and Piper, and Ed looks thrilled about this. And Benny looks thrilled about it too. Back at the police station, they have Mrs. Wilkes. Thankfully, she she's safe. They ask her if she has any idea from where Wilkes was calling from. She may have heard a train in the background, and Jo connects this to maybe not a train, but potentially the ferry. They're tracking all of Richard Kindred's properties to see where Emily could be hiding out with Wilkes, and it turns out he does have a property that is near the ferry. Meanwhile, in this alternate reality inside of Piper's head, it looks like a lot of the books have been successfully turned red, which is bad because slowly but surely Jo is being written out of Piper's life, and in her place, Emily has taken her role. And there's only one blue book left, which is really bad because this is pretty much all the memories that she has. And all the blue represents Jo. So she opens the last book and it goes back to a flashback from when Jo tells Piper that something sad happened to her when she was around her age, except she replaces Jo's memory of her mother leaving with her memory of not knowing her dad, not ever getting a chance to meet her dad. So it's actually taking place in the same exact location, the same time and the place, but she's hearing Emily's sad childhood story instead of Jo's. So this, of course, is going to win over Piper's sympathy because, as we know, Piper can sympathize and empathize with humans. She's been programmed to have these emotions. Of course, Piper thinks this is sad. Emily agrees it is sad, but now she doesn't need him anymore, and she doesn't need anyone now that she has Piper. Emily says it's time to wake up, and Piper is instantly taken back to the living room. At this point, I think it started to become a little bit confusing as to what was real and what was happening in real life and what was happening in this other universe that's taking place inside Piper's head. Ed says it's as if she was asleep, but she wasn't asleep. She was wide awake sitting there and having all of this process in her brain because Emily was in there talking to her. Mia's there, Alex is there. Mia says, "Hey Mom," and she gives Emily a hug. So Emily is now essentially Jo in Piper's head. Piper, you can tell here that Piper is not quite buying it. She knows something is off about this. Again, she has really good sense about these things. I don't know if this is part of her evolving or what. She flat out asks Mia, "Is that really your mom?" Because she doesn't believe it. It just doesn't seem right. This isn't really happening. This is just some type of an event that's being rewritten in her head with this red book that's coming in to replace the blue book. Chris and Jo go to the location where they believe that Emily has been holding Wilkes and executing this overwrite in Piper's system. On the road to the estate, they almost get run over by a black SUV. Chris shoots up the tire so it crashes. The driver is Emily's guy, and we find Wilkes in the back. Unfortunately, Emily is one step ahead of them, and she left hours ago, so they're too late. Again, this starts to get confusing as to what's real and what isn't. Benny's back at the house, keeping an eye on Piper, and Ed, obviously. Ed takes this opportunity to press Benny about information about Piper and the situation. He is not letting this go. He definitely wants to know what's going on. He feels very protective about his family and very concerned, and he wants to be put in the loop. Ed doesn't want to be kept in the dark, but Benny defends Jo and her reasons for wanting to keep certain things a secret. When they tell Piper it's time for dinner, she appears to be off in one of these alternate reality states. Ed goes over to approach her to make sure she's okay. She says, "There's someone at the door. I'll go get it." Now, she goes running to the door. They haven't heard the door. There's been no doorbell ring. Nobody knocked at the door. But she knows that someone's at the door, which means she's probably been communicating with Emily in that very moment, and Emily has alerted her that she's coming. And sure enough, we have Emily at the door. Now, remember, at this point, all of the blue books have now been replaced by red books, which means Piper thinks Emily is Jo. She says, "Hello, Emily." She hugs her. She's happy to see her. Ed's like, "Who the heck is this girl?" Benny tells Emily to stay away from her, and she asks why. Piper tells Benny and Ed, "This is her house. This is Emily's house. She lives here. You guys know her." Emily tells Piper it's time to go. Benny jumps forward to try and stop them. Emily tells Piper, "This man is hurting me." And as we know, when people are getting hurt that she cares about, things happen, and unfortunately, Benny seems to always get the brunt of it here. He always seems to be getting hurt in every episode. Poor Benny. Also, Piper tells Emily, "I didn't mean to do that." So whatever she did, she didn't mean to hurt anybody, and she's well aware that someone did get hurt. Emily appreciates that Piper was protecting her and says, "It's okay, let's get going." Alex and Mia pull up to the house because I guess they come to an agreement that Piper isn't dangerous, and Mia's very, very happy about it. Unfortunately, their timing is not the best because all this is going down in the moment of all this happening. They see Piper leaving with Emily, and Alex automatically goes into protective mode. Alex tries to stop them, asking Piper, where's she going? Piper says with Emily, of course. When Alex says, come with me, we'll go see Joe, Piper doesn't know who Joe is. She asks, who is Joe? Joe and Wilkes are trying to figure out a way to fix Piper and the damage that Emily has done. Basically, Wilkes says there's really nothing that can be done because everything that Joe has been overwritten by Emily. The only way to possibly fix Piper at this point is to completely reset her, which unfortunately would, in not so many words, kill her to a certain extent because she would be wiped cleaning starting for fresh. So that means all of her memories, everything that she is right now will cease to exist, including all the time that she's had with Joe, all the time she's had with the family, all of that would just disappear. And as we know, Wilkes wants to completely shut down Piper altogether, which Joe also doesn't want. Wilkes is pretty insistent on resetting Piper, and Joe's not having it. So she pulls out her gun and he asks, are you going to shoot me? Nope, she's not going to shoot him. She's going to shoot the computer so that he cannot reset Piper. So much for that. Guess Piper won't be reset. They're just going to have to take their chances and find a way to somehow make this work. Cut back to that house. Emily tells Piper that they're trying to take her away. But she's not quite inclined to believe this. And then Mia gets out of the car to make sure she's okay, and she's honestly worried about Piper. And something about seeing Mia and that bond that they share does something to Piper, and she's able to somehow override everything. Piper tells Emily they want me to stay, and then we're taken back to the library full of red books, and we see something pretty awesome happen here. She goes in and with one touch, she turns all the red books back to blue, restoring her memories to the accuracy of what really happened. She's taken back. She realizes the truth at this point. She refuses to go with Emily, and I guess it's game over for Emily as far as this end, but I have a feeling that Emily's not going to stop trying to get Piper. Alex takes Piper and the rest of them inside the house. Emily hears police sirens going off, so she gets out of there pretty quickly. Back at the house, I think that Joe and Alex finally have a little bit of an understanding. Alex really has an understanding that Piper isn't a danger to any of them. For now, it seems the family is reunited and happy, all back together. Now, Piper says something interesting. She says, it's like my mind was told to go with her, but the real me didn't want to. So it's like there's this human element to her that's the real her. So then we have a little bit of a sweet moment between Joe and Alex. Joe asks Alex if he wants her to find another place for Piper to stay, and he says that's not what he wants, and he knows that's not what she wants. Only problem is when she asks how do they fix this, Alex says he doesn't know, and he doesn't know if they can. We went over this a little bit in the beginning, but yeah, we're taken to Kindred's jail cell. He gets a call from his lawyer, who is Emily. The situation makes me a little bit alarmed, not just because Emily is obviously a cold-blooded killer. This leaves little room for doubt that she's willing to kill or do whatever is necessary to get what she wants, including killing her own father. I don't know if that was an act of revenge, as I said in the beginning. I'm not quite sure why she killed Kindred. I want to know what you guys think of this. Was this an act of revenge, or was it a way to protect herself because she's afraid he would eventually give her up? Now, Emily is visibly upset about losing Piper. She is crying. He says he's gonna fix all of this, and she says, no, we're not gonna do that anymore. I don't need you anymore. And I'd like to know what her next move is gonna be, because this move was pretty severe and final. She's got a lot of guys that she's able to hire out to do her dirty work for her, including killing him in jail. I still have some questions about this ending. We see the guard shove this thing into his mouth, and I think it's like one of those strips like they put in the bodies of those two fake parents that turn them into a pool of blood, right? Because we see the blood running later. But we don't see who walks away. We just see someone walk away. Now, it appears that the guard was successful at putting this thing in his mouth, but we don't see Kindred actually fall down. We do see a set of steps walking away. So it's very possible that Kindred was able to wiggle his way out and put the thing in the guard's mouth and walk away. And now that is something that I wouldn't be surprised if we found out later actually happened. I might be completely wrong and like way off base with this. That's just some type of suspicion that I have. I mean, I might be totally wrong. Let me know what you guys think. I want to hear your theories. I'm so glad they finally explained all the blue symbolism and what that was all about, because I know a lot of people bringing it up as they made several references to like this blue thing. So it's good that they actually clarified what that meant. So leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And if there's something I missed, please let me know about that too, because I do occasionally miss things. and if there's anything I'm completely missing, please just scream at me. I'm so glad that there's another episode next week and we don't have another break. If you guys are new here and you enjoyed this, subscribe to my channel and turn those notification bells on so that you get notified when I upload my next video. One last thing I do want to talk about on here is this Emergence CUDA board. I'm part of an Emergence fan group on Facebook. I'll leave a link down below. On every video I have it on there. If you're not part of the fan community there, come on to Facebook, join us. We have a lot of speculation, theories, and discussions all about the show. I've also connected with a few of the other fans on Twitter and different platforms, and they've started this something called CUDA board where you can actually go in and leave a really nice comment for the cast to tell them you appreciate the show and give them kudos, essentially. I'll leave a link down below, so if you get a chance, click that CUDA board and leave your comment and encouragement for the cast. Thanks again for watching. I will see you guys next week. I'm so excited. Until then, bye-bye.